Brothers and sisters, we seek protection, safety, security from the evil of this world. The evil that lurks in every nook and cranny of this world that has found its way to affect our hearts and minds. We seek protection from that evil. We seek protection for all of our brothers and sisters who are facing oppression and tyranny in the world, in Gaza and in many other places all over the world. We remember that all things exist, function, and have a beauty because of the divine purpose for which they were created. All things begin in the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful, the benevolent, the beneficent, the kind, the gentle. It is for this reason that all praise, all gratitude, all glory is His and His alone. Everything is deriving its beauty, its value, its purpose, the enjoyments, all of that comes from Him. And so we are all living a blessing that we must be thankful for. We ask Him to send His peace and blessings and mercy upon His final Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and all of those who follow him, and all of those who follow all of the prophets until the day of judgment. We are facing adversity as we speak. Our government is supporting a genocide against people. Our politicians, our media are complicit in supporting a genocide. So how do we deal with this? It's important for a believer to always contextualize adversity through the Quran. If you look at reality as you live it, and then you have a strong foundation in reality as it's mentioned in the divine message of the Quran, then you will understand how to live in the solution. How can you be part of the solution? Ali ibn Abi Talib, the great son-in-law of the Prophet ﷺ and the fourth of those righteous, pious leaders who followed his example, he used to say, we should use past and look forward to what the future holds because events tend to resemble one another. In other words, history repeats itself. In our struggles in facing oppressive regimes, it is most fitting that we look first to the story of Moses, peace and blessings be upon him. The story of Moses is the most repeated story in the Quran. It gives so many different details and angles of understanding how we would deal with an oppressive tyrant and a whole system underneath him. How do we somehow find our way in dealing with this? You'll find in this story that there are 5 pillars. The first is the ruthless tyrant who believes everything in the world is his possession, believes that his control is absolute and nothing can stop it. His kingdom is absolute. And this is Pharaoh. Then you have the spineless minister who grovels at the feet of the Pharaoh's power structure, filled with hypocrisy, deluding the ruler into thinking that his desires will be fulfilled and that nothing can stop him. This is Haman. Then you have the extremely wealthy, influential person that employs their riches to maintain the status quo to preserve their wealth interests. This is Qarun. Then you have the corrupt clergy who support and justify injustice without question. And these are the sorcerers before they saw the truth, before the truth was properly brought to them. And then we have the biased media, those who cover the story in a way that makes everybody feel like this is the way it should be. And those are the announcers in Surah Shu'ara. وَقِيلَ لِلنَّاسِ هَلْ أَنْتُمْ مُجْتَمِعُونَ لَعَلَّنَا نَتَّبِعُ السَّحَرَةَ إِن كَانُوا هُمُ الْغَالِبِينَ. It was a group of people going around telling everybody, listen, everybody, are you going to come? Are you going to come? Let's go. Because all of our great sorcerers are going to prove Moses to be a fool. And then we'll follow them and our greatness will be established if they are the victors. The first and most important lesson that we all have to take away from this: do not despair. Every tyrant, every system of corrupt rule in the history of humanity has been destroyed. And most corrupt rules and tyrants didn't last that long at all. Unfortunately, our government has only become an international tyrant in the last 40, 50 years. And the Israeli regime, 75 years. Their time is both coming. You cannot get away with oppression and tyranny when you are under God's kingdom. There are lessons to be had. There is a test to deal with. But at the end of the day, His truth is going to come forth. Remember the five. You have the corrupt ruler, the tyrant, the corrupt ministers, their supporters and their political system, the corrupt wealthy elite, the corrupt clergy, and the corrupt media. Let's look in Mecca in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. You had the Quraysh. The Quraysh was the tyrant. We are the controllers of all morality and economic interest. There's the elders, Abu Jahl and Umayyah bin Khalaf, and these are the tyrants. And they had strong economic interests in preserving Mecca as an idol worshipping center of Arabia. That was very important for them to maintain this. And they had people within their tribe gathering others to support it, especially the poets. The poets went around mocking the Prophet ﷺ and his teachings, which we know are beautiful, good teachings that are for the best interest of the people of Mecca. But the media apparatus going on in that day, just as it is today, was going around telling, no, he's this, he's that, he's going to ruin you, he's trying to destroy our families. And so, right now we see all this playing out right in front of our eyes. So the Imperial Power of the United States of America and its military base, Israel. These are two tyrants in the world. We have the United States Congress and those corrupt regimes that surround Israel that are groveling. Those are the Hamans, the corrupt ministers. Let's maintain our power. Let's maintain our own personal economic interests. Support the tyrant. You see the wealth and the massive influential figures that anybody speaking the truth now, they're saying, we're going to not give you a job, we'll take your job, we'll ruin your business, we'll take away your education. Astronomical investments in this. And then the media campaign, facilitating a full-blown genocide right now. Among those media campaigns, historically, to build the stage to where we're at now, is Islamophobia, the irrational fear of Islam, that Islam is all Muslims are all a threat to everyone and the society as we know it. Between 2008 and 2013, a college study showed within 5 years that $200 million was exchanged hands so that people could present a story that Muslims are the boogeyman, that Islam is a danger to us. It's a huge industry. Studies show that the anti-Muslim sentiments spike when the propaganda of the media coverage and political rhetoric increases. They rev up the engine, they turn the remote control on. Because we saw that before October 7th, most of us were like kind of back to normal, like we didn't feel like people are, against us and that there's this huge fear of Islam. But on October 7th, this is our 9/11. They started using the dog whistles, the phrases that click. Oh, 9/11. Oh, that's 9/11. These are 9/11. All those represent 9/11. They're supporting the 9/11. We heard ISIS. This is like ISIS and this and the beheadings that were never proven because we know that ISIS did that. So ISIS beheadings, that's all code language to justify the war machine. We saw all of this right in front of our eyes take place again, just as Pharaoh did. When Pharaoh, Daruni aqtul Musa, so he told his people, just let me kill Moses. And they're looking at him like, well, but he's just trying to save his people from slavery and all of that. And then what did he say? إِنِّي أَخَافُ أَن يُبَدِّلَ دِينَكُمْ أَوْ أَن يُظْهِرَ فِي الْأَرْضِ الْفَسَادِ. Watch out for Moses. He's going to corrupt your ways. He's going to spread corruption in the society. He's going to take away the religion of your family. So to make them fear that Moses should be threatened. He's a threat to our society. We have to fear whatever he is about. يُرِيدُ أَن يُخْرِجَكُم مِّنْ أَرْضِكُمْ بِسِحْرِهِ فَمَاذَا تَأْمُرُونَ. He's just a sorcerer with magic. He's trying to kick you all out of your homelands. What do you think I should do? I should kill him, right? He's using Islamophobia. He's justifying that this is the bad guy. This guy represents bad things, even though he's trying to do a good, noble thing to release people from slavery. Today we see the fear-mongering. We see it. The way of talking about people like now they're all to be feared. All of the people of Gaza. This is something that is justifying a genocide. It is crucial for us to understand how our country operates. Our country is a capitalist country. Its entire governance is rooted in corporate interests. And so the biggest corporate interest in the United States, as President Dwight D. Eisenhower warned us and told us all when he left presidency in his final address, is the military-industrial complex. They are so powerful that they get the Congress every year to approve taking 40% of the taxes of the American public to give to them. Our taxes. Some $800 billion that could be used for healthcare, education, building better roads, putting solar panels on every single house in the country. Like, they could do so many things to make life better. You know, they could eradicate poverty in the United States easily. But what they do is they take all our money and give it to these military people so they can build weapons and sell and trade weapons all over the world. Is there any country that we need to feel like we need to put a lot of money to protect ourselves from some threat we're facing? Does anybody know of in recent history when there was a threat against America? A lot of people are brainwashed and falsely trained to believe that the reason why World War II was fought was to save the Jews from the Holocaust. Actually, in fact, according to Holocaust historians, who are all Jew, mostly, the Holocaust had already been done. Millions of Jews were gassed and incinerated before the United States went and got into a war in World War II. The concern was now Hitler has a massive empire he's building which threatens our strategic interests, our economic and political and military interests, so we have to go stop that. That's how it operates. Israel is a giant military base. It's not about because there's democracy there and freedom there. That's all just propaganda. We all know it's not a democracy. Everybody who's ever lived there knows that. Jews have a very comfortable life in America and Europe. They're doing very well. Very safe. Very strong capacity to move up and do good in the world. It's not just a safe place for Jews. It's a military base. It's a very strategic place to have a massive amount of military, including more than 300 atomic bombs right there in the middle of the Muslim world. That's what it's about. That's what they're constantly double downing, triple downing to support. They have put hundreds of billions of dollars of our tax money into establishing and maintaining and strengthening this military base over there. And if it becomes a democracy for everyone, and then people get to decide what they're doing with that place other than what it's generally designed to do, that loses a huge strategic place for the United States empire. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه فإنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. You see, this country was built upon genocide. This is a very important thing to recognize because our government has not recognized it. All educational institutions in higher learning, every university that studies American history, that teaches American history, say, yeah, they came here and they genocidally wiped out these Native Americans, and then they abused and humiliated and tortured the slaves from Africa. This was the history. And so how did they make people accept those things? They said, these guys are all savages. These are savage people here, these natives, and those people are not really human. They're like animals, so they should be our slaves. They made up these ideas of bigotry. Bigotry is not just because people are bad people who hate other people. It's instituted by someone who seeks political or economic power in order to justify treating people in the wrong way. That's the whole history of bigotry as an international reality. The goal is acceptance of their political and economic agenda. It deepens the racist sentiments in people. But if you look in this country, it's the same. The Black American community, they fought hard. They understood how voting works. So they were willing to go be beat up and arrested and get that on the media so that people would say, yeah, these people need a right to vote. It's their right, like everyone else. It's in the law, but you're not giving them that. And there has been a lot of gains. There's still a long way to go for the African American community. So if you look back, Abraham Lincoln said, these people should have 40 acres and a mule. Who? After we finish Civil War, and now we're going to move on as a society with no slaves, we need to repay the slaves for all of the work they did in this country, the hundreds of billions of value that they offered when got nothing. So we're going to give them 40 acres, a giant farm, and a mule to get moving in so that they can work, build their family. And then what they do, they shot Abraham Lincoln in the head. And then the guy after that said, no 40 acres and a mule to them, because this is our land. And who, when they say our land? The white rich people. Same stuff. They just got rid of slavery, but they're still. So it's important to understand how things work. And so tyrants and the notion of demeaning or demoralizing minorities, it's a historical phenomenon. Why do they not want Latino people to come here? Why did Barack Obama, with all of the progressive talk he represented, deport way more than any other president, the 3 presidents before him? Because that is not in line with the economic interests of the United States, to have all these people just come here and work. They don't want that. They want to make immigration harder, and they want to make sure that the only people who they will give immigration to are people who represent good economic interests for this country. Because they don't care about people in their lives. Otherwise, they would have eradicated poverty with the billions and billions and billions of dollars we have here a long time ago. Other groups in this country have faced hatred and demeaning, demoralizing attitudes. When Jews first came to this country, they were hated. There were people that constantly have this dislike for Jewish people, anti-Semitism. But they worked hard, and they wanted to understand the system, and they made sure that they collectively support each other in owning their place in the society. And now they get whatever they want. They have a very strong institutional respect in this society. They worked hard for it, against a lot of hatred. But when they came here, they didn't say, we're from over there, that we don't like this country, tell our kids, you're not really from here. No, they're like, we're from here, and we need to figure out what are we going to do here? What's our plan? A lot of Muslims not thinking like that at all. And that's the difference where we're at right now. We're not owning our place in this country. When Catholics first came here, the people who started this country hated the church. They felt like the church is a disease. And the Catholic Church is this institutional hierarchy. So Catholics were beat up and humiliated regularly for being Catholic in this country for a long time. When John F. Kennedy was made president, first Catholic president, they were saying, oh, he's secretly talking to the Pope. All these weird conspiracy theories. And now Joe Biden is the president as a Catholic. And so this is, people work for things. We saw this whole, the LGBTQ. 30 years ago, nobody accepted this thing and the whole way of thinking, and everybody would have been 80-90% vote no. They work really, really hard. They're in the ears of everyone. This is what we've been through. This is the abuse we face. This is a humiliation. This is what we represent. Here's what we're going to do for your campaign. Here, 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 here. And now you see. We are our own worst enemy in this situation. We're not understanding where we're at and what that means. If you were raised in society where there's a dictator who has absolute control, no matter what you do, nothing will change, there's no use in trying to. You just mind your business and do your thing. But when you go to a place where there's a proven history record, and we gave you some examples, of people mobilizing and working for their rights and standing up to abuse and humiliation, then you need to be focusing a lot of your efforts on that. And you need to raise your kids in that thought process. But to raise your kids being like, yeah, we don't like this country, we're not from here, you're not from this place, you're not like these people, don't be like these people. That's just like that's like taking both, shoot both feet right at once. Terrible idea. So it's important for us to contextualize where we come from. We have to hasten justice, hasten our rights. وَإِن تَصْبِرُوا وَتَتَّقُوا لَا يَضُرُّكُمْ كَيْدُهُمْ شَيْئًا إِنَّ اللَّهَ بِمَا يَعْمَلُونَ مُحِيطٌ. If you're truly patient, patience doesn't mean like, just hold it while they're kicking us. Oh, God, make it easy on me. That's not patience. Patience is, the tide is against you, you're facing adversity. How do I thrive? How do I get ahead of this? How do I make the best out of this situation? Through divine guidance. When tattaqu. If you seek the pleasure of God while doing His work in the world, no matter what the plots are against you, it will not be successful. But it starts with understanding how the world works, how this country works. Fighting bigotry is a fundamental part of Islam. Islam has that notion of all of us are souls who came from heaven and we're all children of Adam. We're all equal. We come from one source, every last one of us. That's a dangerous thought to people who like to weaponize bigotry, right? Isn't it? That's why they really fear us. If we start understanding Islam again and we establish Islam on what it is, where it says, no, it's by virtue of what you offer to the welfare of society. What is your level of rahmah? What is your ihsan? What is your benevolence? What is your charity? What is your kindness? What is your way of solving problems that keep people down? How are you compassionate? That's how you become higher in the eyes of God in Islam. So we have to understand what the black community is going through and how to be an ally to them. We have to understand the Latino community, what they're going to and how to support them. So we're two oppressed peoples. We have all faced this. We're all seeing it. How people are irrationally spreading this dislike of people because of their ethnic or religious beliefs. The building of bridges is important. We've been holding banners and signs at intersections all over the city for the last week and a half, 2 weeks. And I can tell you, many, many people are downloading the QR code and learning. And many people are, when they're waiting, stopping and saying, yeah, what is this all about? Why are they allowing this? Many people are honking. There are many, many people out there that just need a little education because they have a moral conscience. They've seen the corruption of our country. They know the power and wealth controls our political interests. It's not about human welfare, because they could have solved many human welfare issues long time ago if that was the strategy. We have to work together to support the best interests of this country. We believers have an agenda. Muslims have an agenda. We want to have influence in this country. We want to influence the governing of this country. We want to establish the notion of true kingdom. For what? The Quran tells us for what in many places. تلك الدار الآخرة نجعلها للذين لا يريدون علوا في الأرض ولا فسادا والعاقبة للمتقين. Heaven, the greatest of God's kingdom, the pure bliss, is a place that is a reward for those who did not seek worldly power and making themselves better than others and did not spread corruption in the earth. They were godly, they were compassionate, they were kind. The Quran describes the entire message of Islam. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. We've only sent you for one purpose, to be compassion, benevolence, kind, caring to everyone and everything on earth. Does that make a lot of money? It makes no money. It makes hasanat. So it's a dangerous idea to people who have a world system that's based on making money. You see what they really fear? Pay attention. They're scared we will remember what Islam is and stop trying to analyze chemistry. Okay, this haram because the diglycerides and all that, waste and all that. What did you do for your neighbor, diglyceride, haram police person? What does your colleague know about Islam from your behavior? How well can your kids carry Islam into the world? Or can they say some memorized Arabic phrases? We really need to rethink our priority system and how we understand Islam and what our point is. Because where we're at, we are the first one to blame. If we're to succeed, we have to first look to ourselves. لا تكونوا كالذين نسوا الله فأنساهم أنفسهم. Don't be like those who forgot Allah and then they forgot themselves. He caused them to, they don't know what they are, what they're doing, what their purpose is. تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير. We represent a kingdom. All the blessings that could possibly be come from the hands of the one who has all absolute kingdom and authority. And he is capable of everything. He can do whatever he wants. But why did he create us? الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا. He created you all for one reason. To analyze the labels at the grocery store. No. To become the best of deeds, those that excel, those that bring goodness and beautify the world, that make people's lives better. That's the priority, that's the purpose, that's the meaning. That's the story. If someone was to ask you, what does it mean to be Muslim? You have to think to yourself first, what do I know to be being Muslim? Is it just a belief in God as one and try to be a good person? There's a lot of people out there who believe that and they're not called Muslim. It's a very secular, watered down thing. I would say the powers that be, who have put a lot of interest and time and effort and money and political maneuvering to the leadership of our countries wherever they are. That whatever understanding of Islam that we have right now that has put us in this position, they very much are in favor of it. Because we saw in history when believers were filled with knowledge and wisdom, and when they had this drive to make the world a better place, we saw the whole world in great awe and respect. Again, if you were to ask your kids, can you tell me, son, what is the golden age of Islam? Tell me about it. If somebody asks, what is the House of Wisdom? What was Timbuktu? What was Andalus? Tell me about it. If you can't tell, then why? Because you weren't supposed to remember that. Those that engineered the way you understand Islam in your priority system. Because that represents greatness. That represents an empire of beauty and richness that is not about what the people who rule the world are about now. Actually, very contrary to that. Strongly in contrary. So we have to purposefully re-establish ourselves as believers every day we wake up. What am I going to do for the world? What am I going to do for the best interests of my neighbors, of my colleagues, of my co-workers? Where are the people suffering? How can I help them? Do you know how many people will join our cause if they feel our presence as believers? But you know, many of them could tell you, I don't know who the Muslims are or what they represent. I heard there's 6-7 million of them here. They wear outfits. They go into certain stores and mosques. We have to be holistically following Islam if we expect Allah's help. That's what it means. إِن تَنْصُرُوا اللَّهَ يَنْصُرْكُمْ وَيُثَبِّتْ أَقْدَامَكُمْ. If you truly support the cause of God in its entirety of the Quranic message, which is not for scholars, it's for every believer, then He will support you. And He will give you firm rooting in the world where everybody will be in respect to you. That's the challenge. Do we leave here on that mission? Or do we just go back into the hamster wheel and call it a day?